Before we get started, let's play a quick game. Who's black and who's not? Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not black. According to the internet, Kamala Harris's father is a Jamaican-American economist and professor emeritus at Stanford University. If we look back, Marcus Garvey got deported back in 1927 while being an activist because he was Jamaican. Malcolm and MLK couldn't be deported. Kamala's brother was Indian and didn't come to the United States until she was 19. Drake. We all know Drake's dad starred in TV show Atlanta and is Jewish. Drake's mom is also Jewish and from Toronto. Obama, or as the Syrians allegedly call him, Barack al-Bomya. His mom is a white American and Obama's father was born and died in Kenya. DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled's parents are from Palestine. Cardi B. Cardi B's father is Dominican and her mom is from Trinidad. Honorable mentions. DJ Academics is not black. KSI and Deji are not black. And Colin Kaepernick is not black. Now, who is black? 50 Cent. Businessman and film producer 50 Cent is black. NBA Youngboy. Famous rock star and musician NBA Youngboy is black. Charleston White. Famous community activist and comedian Charleston White is black. Michael Jordan. NBA legend and businessman Michael Jordan is black. Master P. Business mogul and everything entertainment related, Master P is also black. Glorilla. Rising rap star Glorilla is also black. Now, let's get started. Blacks and Africans are not the same. Blacks and African Americans are not the same. Many people, when speaking of black people, like to include Africans, Americans, Caribbean and any other brown people into one category and we call them black. But is it possible that Africans, Caribbean and races alike are not actually black? According to historical data and genetic studies, it has been proven that not all blacks, or as most people wrongfully categorize them, African Americans, are from Africa. We are taught in schools that blacks were brought to America via the slave trade from Western Africa, but this is not entirely true. Blacks aren't African American and African Americans aren't black. It has been proven and documented that complex civilizations inhabited North America for hundreds, even thousands of years before European colonizers around the 15th century. An example of this is the discovery of pyramids and civilizations very similar to those of Egypt have been found in the Grand Canyon of the USA. Among them were the civilizations of the Seminoles and Maroons, who together with other Native Americans created various civilizations. However, there are no records that allow us to determine with precision the origin of each and every one of the African Americans or Black Americans we see today. During slavery and colonization, many blacks died in battles and others were separated from their bloodlines through slavery. Slaves were stripped of their rights, families, and languages. This is why many blacks cannot trace back their bloodline. A common misconception is that these slaves came from Africa, but many were from civilizations who lost battles to other civilizations, Europeans in particular. Conquered slaves from the Caribbean, South America, and North America were included in the slave trade amongst each other. Eventually though, the transportation of slaves was made illegal by the United States by Act of Congress, passed in 1800, that made it illegal for Americans to participate in the slave trade between nations, and gave national authorities the right to seize ships caught transporting slaves, and confiscate any cargo they had. After this ban, Americans started to breed slaves. Systems to shape people into slaves were implemented. Slaves were bred together like dogs for key attributes. Slaves were not allowed to learn outside of the identity created for them by their masters. Books like How to Make a Nigger Slave and the Willie Lynch Letter serve as documentation for these events. This mixture created a new race of people who were identified as niggers. Even after emancipation, blacks were born and declared an ethnicity called nigger on their birth certificates. When slavery was abolished, all these races that came from slavery and the importation of people had nowhere to go. Not only did they not own anything, many of these ex-slaves were far separated from even their immediate bloodline and family. They could not return to their country because this was where they were made. This made them develop their own dialect, keeping their history and origins intact, origins that do not extend past slavery. Africans, on the other hand, have their own nations. Despite colonization, many of these African nations were able to stay intact or even come together. They have their own language, cultures, and a country to call home. Even an African born in the United States is not black, because their bloodline still traces back to Africa. They are an African, and if anything, African Americans. Americans with traces back to slavery is who is considered black. This nation of people have their own culture, but not their own language and country. They instead have the English language and a European established nation governing their home. Their home is in America. Have a nice day. So remember, next time you're about to put all brown people in a bunch, just remember, everybody ain't black. See you next time.